Hello and welcome to Pro Wrestling Musings. We are back. Amazing. I know we've been gone for a while. I do apologise. As you can see, we are looking a little bit more fancier. So first of all, thank you very much to Fractured Plays for creating our overlays and making us look pretty. Um, Obviously, the plan now is to relaunch our wonderful podcast. So, what better way to start than to start with the Revolution 2022 review? So, we're going to be doing that today. And I have a fantastic first guest picked up. He is the creator of Wrestling on YouTube and also a great guy and generally hangs around the Pro Wrestling Musings locker room a lot and contributes mostly to the roundtable. So thank you for coming, Gareth. Welcome to
Cheers,
the
mate.
show.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me. It's nice to get the podcast back. We're back in it, and we're back with Anthony Down Under, the best man on wrestling Twitter.
I don't know about the best man, but we'll see what we can do. I think that the best man has been taken by Miro, and I don't want to make him mad.
Well, he's got rid of that now, so
Yeah, true. Maybe he'll sell me the copyright for it.
yeah.
Alright, so let's get into it. First of all, let's talk about our wonderful buy-in. Now, personally, I was very happy with the buy-in. I thought they had a lot of good stuff on there. Obviously, we had Layla versus Statlander opening, and it was a great way to open. Then we had Hook versus QT. Hook obviously is amazing and the best there is, the best there ever will be, and the greatest of all time, all wrapped up into one. And then the House of Black versus Death Triangle in the spooky section of AEW. What did you think of buying?
I really enjoyed it. I sometimes they only have one match, or like there's not so much action. They're running down the card to come, which is usually by that point everyone who wants to watch like the countdown, for example, has watched it, so we've seen those video packages all before. So it's kind of often a little bit of a slog, but this one, they kind of just made it a little bit like an episode of Rampage, like three exciting matches which weren't necessarily blow away, but all very, very exciting nonetheless. I really liked the way they paced it as well. Opening up with Layla Hirsch versus Chris Statlander, I think was a really nice way to just get the night going, really, because obviously people still filing in, so you didn't want to put the spot fest on first or whatever. And I really enjoyed that match for what it was. I think it was nice to see them actually build like not just a secondary women's match for this card, but a third one as well, and actually have a couple of months of build going into it. There are obviously a couple of issues I think a lot of people have with that build, but we're not here to talk about that necessarily. I think the match was really, really nice, and I really enjoyed the moment at the end, in particular, where Layla Hirsch finally hit that moonsault from the top rope that she had been trying to hit for ages, and kind of failing to. She might have hit it a few times, but I remember usually she would fail to hit it, and it would often lead to her losing, particularly in the bigger matches. But with this new heel turn, she used the weapon, and then she still goes up to hit it because even though she's changed her mentality, she's not completely changed as a person. And this was more about proving a point than it was about just simply getting wins and stuff. And I think that was a really nice way to visualize that. So I really enjoyed that match. What about yourself, mate?
Yeah, look, I think that was a fantastic match and well played off. The thing about all three of these matches, each of them had a long going story to it, which I think added. I think if they continue to do buy-ins this way, I much prefer it this way because it's something that I can go to my non-wrestling friends and go, hey, here's literally a free show. Go watch it. If you like it, I can get them into it. It's just a
Yeah.
fantastic sales point, and all three matches were really good, and they all had stories. And I've liked the direction that they're going in with Layla and that. I did hear a rumor that apparently her versus Thunder Rosa was going to be a number one contenders match coming up in
Yeah,
for the match at San Antonio, I think is Thunder Rosa's hometown,
yeah,
which is where everyone expects her to finally beat Britt and become champion. But we'll get into that one later. But I don't like the idea of Layla having this big win and then immediately having a very big loss, especially when she's just been cemented. So if that is the case, I don't think that that's going to be a good idea. But we'll get into that a bit later. I think overall the match was
yeah,
great. It was a good way to warm up the crowd and open up and just say this is what to expect. This is the bar, and they just kept raising that bar. And then
yeah,
the other matches, Hook versus QT was everything it needed to be. QT obviously had to get in some offense, and the crowd hated it. People forget just how much people love to see QT get beaten up. So um, the question obviously is what to do with Hook now that he's gone through QT and effectively ended the Nightmare Factory sort of stuff. But most likely will be left behind him. So what next for Hook is going to be a very interesting thing. And then the final one, House of Black versus Death Triangle. I doubt that that's over and done with, but still very good match. And Eric Redbeard having a good run was really good to see, and it was really good to see how over he was too with the crowd. What did you think of that one in particular?
yeah. I really, really enjoyed that House of Black versus Death Triangle match, and I'm one of the people who wasn't really a big fan of all the spooky stuff. It's just something which isn't for me in any genre or any medium, let alone in wrestling, where I think it can be a little bit world breaking at times. This isn't the worst example. It's not like the Fiend, losing a Hell in a Cell match by disqualification. It's not that bad, but yeah, it's still the story or the kind of themes around this feud. It's not something that's personally for me, but I knew as soon as the match got going, none of that would matter because the action was just going to be incredible, and it was kind of it was unbelievable, like some of the things they were doing in this. The timing and just the pure skill, like it's just kind of mind blowing to me, particularly like Malachi Black or Pac or Buddy Murphy. But then obviously you had Eric Redbeard, who I think was the star of this match, just because I think they really wanted to, know, do something special with him. And obviously we saw him debut when he on Brody's tribute show, but haven't seen him since then. And I do hope he's someone who like comes in and maybe he eventually joins the House of Black. He obviously got the mist in his eyes, so I was thinking, with all this spooky stuff, maybe that kind of corrupts him, and then he eventually joins the House of Black. Because I think him and Brody King would be a fantastic kind of monster tag team, and then you could do those two with Buddy Murphy as a trios when the trios titles come. Both of those would allow Malachi Black to kind of be a singles star, which is where I really want to see him. But then if you want to give Buddy Murphy a run in the singles round, or Brody King, or Eric Redbeard, or whatever, like there's another one you can throw in for the trio there. So it's just a good way of doing it. You can kind of rotate them in the singles division, then throw them into the trios, throw them into the tag division, whatever you want to do, whatever's convenient for their plans. So I would really like to see that happen. Eric Redbeard getting signed permanently. Him and Brody Lee, obviously, when it was Rowan and Harper in WWE, one of my favorite tag teams, just such a good like monster tag team. But yeah, I mean, obviously that can't happen anymore. But I think him and Brody King, or him and Brody King and Buddy Murphy, or whatever, I think that's a good substitute. In the like the situations, I really like Eric Redbeard. I think he showed just how good he is in this match. So
Yeah,
I hope he does come in properly. You know.
yeah. So there has been reports that he's more interested in doing acting and stuff like that instead of
Okay.
wrestling now. So, but the good thing about AEW is even if he comes in once in a blue moon, he's still now
Yeah.
established in AEW, and we saw the reactions people were getting. So, even if he comes in, once a year or something for something like this, where someone needs a monster, and he can come in and
Yeah.
be that monster, that's still a good use, and then he can stay wrestling if he wants to. That's still he
Yeah.
doesn't need to be fully
I mean,
signed for that
it's
role.
up to him, isn't it?
Exactly, that's right. Cool. All right. So what we're going to do now is go into our main card. So Revolution proper. So obviously everyone took a moment's break after that. because it was a really good. So look, just before we do that, out of five, what would you give the buy-in as a whole?
Um, as far as buy-ins go, like it's their best buy-in for sure, and like it's better than any pre-show I've seen WWE do or whatever. So, as far as buy-ins go, I think it's a five. It's the best one I've ever seen. If you compared it to like an episode of Rampage, for example, because it's like a 1 hour, just mostly action-based show, probably give it like a four. Like I enjoyed all the matches, and I think the House of Black Death Triangle one especially was brilliant. So yeah, four generally, or by the level of a buy-in, I give it a five because it's the best one I've seen.
One thing that we didn't mention that I'll just bring up now is there was two things that happened on the buy-in. First of all, during the intro for Statlander, Kenny Omega's music started playing just before hers did. I read someone said that he's not injured; he's been kidnapped by her, so that was funny.
Yeah,
And then we got the ultimate troll from Don Callis, who came out
yeah,
and cut a promo to remind us all that we really missed him. But
yeah,
that's really the first sign that Kenny might be coming back. I know a lot of people were thinking he might have come back in that main event tonight, but
yeah,
from Don Callis's promo, he definitely was putting in the work that him versus Cole is definitely something that's going to happen down the line. All right, so let's
yeah.
first jump into Eddie versus Jericho. Um, this for me was Jericho's first match, best match in ages. He looked great in the match. It was very physical, and our boy Eddie won. Holy crap! I got so scared after he hit his first spinning back fist and it didn't pin him. I thought,
Oh
oh
yeah, that.
shit, this means Jericho's winning, doesn't it? God damn it. But no, at the end of the day, the right person won. Eddie won the big one, and Jericho cemented his heel turn by not shaking his hand, going back on his word, and walking away. So Jericho's back where he needs to be as a heel because he's better as a heel. Whatever that babyface run was did nothing for me, but him as a heel, I can do that. He's looking phenomenal. So he's obviously done the work. If you haven't seen it, there's a transformation picture running around Twitter, so go and check that out. But yeah, he's doing a. It was just a really good match. It was very physical, very stiff looking. They worked very well together. What did you think of the match, and do you think that there's going to be a follow up between them?
Um, I don't think so. I don't think it needs it, and I don't. Oh, I wouldn't want Eddie to lose, and I don't think they're gonna have Jericho lose a second time. So I don't think there'll be a follow up. I think it's like that CM Punk match where it's like I don't know. Eddie just has these grudge feuds, and once the fight's done, he's kind of happy to move on, just kind of still hating that guy. Like I don't think he's the kind of guy to hold. He'll hold the grudge about Jericho not shaking the hand, but I don't think he's one who necessarily cares that much about settling that grudge because I mean he's got grudges with everyone. Like he's going to be pissed off with someone else next week. That's Eddie Kingston. That's why he's great. So yeah, I don't think there'll be another match. At least not now. Maybe down the line. But I completely agree with everything you said regarding Jericho. I think they recognised that their babyface stuff wasn't quite working, which credit to them because it's fair enough to try something, and if it doesn't work, And I like the fact they didn't just panic and turn him heel. Like they told a story not only with Eddie but with Santana and Ortiz as well, and it's kind of all built into that. The breakup of the inner circle kind of naturally happening. I like as well because I don't really buy that any of them would do anything that extreme in terms of like a massive angle. So I'm kind of happy for them to kind of just go their separate ways now. Um, so I like that they kind of done all of that very naturally as well. They didn't just panic it. As for the match as well, very physical, like you said. Kind of felt like it was very inspired by Japan, obviously, as you always get with Eddie Kingston. I think Jericho's experience in Japan definitely helped there as well. They took some crazy bumps, like both of these guys landed on their head. I think I tweeted something like, "This is Kota Kingston versus Tetsuya Jericho," because they were doing a lot of neck stuff. Um, but it was great, and it seems like they were doing it safely, but I was like that first one especially where Eddie like planted Jericho on his head, like first move of the match. I was like, oh no, like they've definitely botched her. But I don't know, like these guys are just so well trained that I think they're able to do a move like that and somehow make it safe. I don't understand how that works, but yeah, they must have done because Jericho looked fine and he was performing brilliantly throughout this match.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I love the match. Like the energy in the building is like the perfect opening match. Pure animosity in the ring, great action, and I was the same as you. Like when Jericho kicked out of that first spinning back fist from Eddie, I was fully worked into thinking that Jericho was going to win, and then his two code breakers on top of that, as well as the Walls of Jericho. And Eddie's one of the best sellers in wrestling, I find. So I was like just fully convinced, like, he's gonna hit the Judas effect at some point. But then when he went for it, Eddie hits those two spinning back fists and locks in that submission move and gets the win. And I was just very happy. Like this entire thing was pure energy, pure animosity. And at the end, I was just so happy for Eddie. You could see it on his face as well. It was just a beautiful thing to see.
I woke up my dog. My dog was sound asleep next to me on the couch, and when he won, I went, oh yeah, and then my dog wakes up and looks at me like, what the hell are you on about? Oh, it was a great moment. All right, so let's move on to the trios tag title. Jurassic Express versus Red Dragon versus Young Bucks. Now, first of all, I don't really like it when they do the tag matches this way, where you have two in the ring and then one has to tag in and out. I'd prefer three men in the ring and just, you've always got one person in the ring. So that's just a personal preference of mine, but I still feel that this was a really good match. Jungle Boy really showed that he is a pillar. He reminded everyone, because I think a lot of people have gone a bit forgot about just how good he is for how old he is. And this
Yeah.
match, he brought that back up and showed just how good he can be and will be. And I'm glad that Jurassic Express won, because the Red Dragon Young Bucks feud does not need a title with it.
Yeah.
And that's obviously where that's heading. But a lot of people called this one that them two fighting each other was pretty much going to cost the match, and I felt that this was a high energy match. Jurassic Express proved that they can hang with these guys, and showed that they are anyone who was doubting their tag run so far can't doubt it anymore. They hanged and they kept up with these guys.
Yeah, I think it was really important for Jurassic Express to get that win for that reason, because they had kind of been fighting not the best competition, let's say, the likes of the Gun Club, which I like them for the act and what they're doing, but I don't think they're a title challenging act. And obviously, it was just a fun little feud. But even so, with all the strength and depth in this division, I would have liked to have seen a bit more from Jurassic Express. But this is exactly what I wanted to see, really. They took on two big tag teams. The Young Bucks, they've got a lot of history with. They'd never beaten them in a proper tag match. Like, the only time they'd beaten them was with Christian's help. Um, so that was like a nice story beat, which I called, a few months ago anyway. I said they're eventually going to beat the Young Bucks and it'll probably come at this pay-per-view. And that's what happened because it just makes sense. And that's what I like, storytelling that makes sense. So I was really happy that they did pin one of the Young Bucks. I can't remember which one it was. Uh, for that reason, the match itself was it was a pure spot fest, but in the best way. It's not necessarily a bad thing for it to be a spot fest. Really, really exciting match. I loved Red Dragon's strikes throughout this, mixed in with Jungle Boy's athleticism. Luchasaurus getting those hot tags and coming in and just destroying everyone. And then the Young Bucks, I think they worked very well as a team. Um, and I like that everyone kind of had their own dynamic in this match. Like it wasn't necessarily just all high spots. There was a lot of different stuff. But yeah, very, very exciting match. Perfect for Jungle Boy. Builds into Red Dragon and Young Bucks feud as well. So it just served everything it needed to do, really, and gave us a very exciting match along with it.
Um, the next one is our big beefy ladder match, the Face of the Revolution match. When I first started seeing this be put together, I was just thinking, no, you don't do this with ladder matches. But they
Yeah.
did it, and oh god. For me personally, I love this ladder match so much. I could talk about it for ages. There were so many great little spots. Great Orange Cassidy in that match just was fantastic. Everyone had a part to play.
Mm.
Christian Cage, the as the wildly vet, he knows his shit, running around and doing all the veteran sort of stuff. I don't. People will probably not see as much of how good he was in that role, but he did such a great job tonight with that. And
Mm.
obviously the three big beefy boys had three big beefy fights, and oh, just so much in that. But right person won, Wardlow won, and now Wardlow is going to powerbomb whoever the TNT title winner is, either Sammy or Scorpio Sky. I'm imagining it's going to be Scorpio Sky. Um,
Oh, okay. Really? Why is that?
he's he hasn't been beaten for 394 days or something like that. He hasn't lost a single
Mm.
match. So I think he'll win and then lose the week after to Wardlow. So yeah, I know, I'm aware.
Yeah.
But Sammy is at the moment a babyface, and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
and he did get pretty rattled. He's had a lot of hard matches lately, especially tonight's match. So
Mm.
reasonably, if he lost, it would be understandable. He has had quite a few defenses, which have been, very high
Yeah.
paced in that. So I see Scorpio winning, taking advantage of maybe some injury or something like that. But I see him winning, and then the week after, Wardlow just power bombing the shit out of him and winning, and then that leading to MJF feud, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the right person won. That pop for Wardlow winning was great. Ricky Stark's neck, rest in peace. That was oh boy. Yeah,
Yeah.
but great match. I thought. What did you think?
Yeah, completely agree. I think this is my favorite ever like multi-man ladder match, just because I don't know. There was one at WrestleMania which had Brody Lee, Luke Harper in it,
Mm,
which was fantastic a few years ago as well. I think Sheamus was injured in that match, and it was just pure. It was like an amazing match. I think it was the one where Bryan won the Intercontinental Championship. That was really good. But I think this was just like I loved how they kind of did a lot of different things. Like they had the beefy boy segments. You know, they still had a lot of high spots, even though there wasn't like a Ray Phoenix or like Darby Allin in this match. I think probably the biggest high flyer was like Orange Cassidy, and that's harkening back to his days on the Indies. It's not even what he does in AEW. So they kind of did flip the cliches, I guess, on their head, and I think it worked really well. Like you said, I love the beefy boy segments between Wardlow, Hobbs, and Keith Lee. And then that spot where Wardlow actually got rid of both of them was amazing. When he did that and then did his like flex thing, I just got major Batista vibes like
yeah,
in that moment, and I was just like, yes, this is the guy.
yeah,
And it was just like it just felt so good to be watching it. So yeah, definitely the right winner. I think like I would have loved if Keith Lee had won because I think it would have been great if he had won. But realistically, I know that they don't just throw titles on you the moment you join. They like to do different things, and I do really appreciate that as well. Even though I would have loved if Keith Lee was the exception to that rule, but he's not going to be. He's going to feud with Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks, which, based on the little interactions he had with Powerhouse Hobbs, I can't wait for that. But yeah, the right winner. Wardlow looked amazing in this match. I think everyone looked good, but like Wardlow especially, star-making performance. That power bomb onto for Ricky Starks onto his neck. It looks like he managed to cover it, but like I don't know, it looked brutal. So hopefully he's all right. But
yeah.
and if
So
he is,
he has been on Twitter afterwards, and he did say he is okay. It's been there's been some reports that maybe Orange Cassidy's shoulder's injured. If you noticed after
Yeah,
he
that
did
was
the spot,
yeah.
he disappeared completely from that match. Even when Danhausen, who normally is in tow with him, came out. So um,
Yeah.
shame if he was injured, and hopefully he gets a speedy recovery. Obviously, we'll probably know more a little bit later. Next, we'll just quickly touch on Swerve is all elite.
Yeah.
Um, not the for me personally. Obviously, we all knew this one was happening. Fightful had broken this story. Swerve had all but confirmed this story. So no surprise. But what do you think about the way that he came in, like the way that they presented him with the on screen signing?
Yeah. I obviously they did this with Jay Lethal as well, and similar with Christian Cage. Like he just came out, he was announced in that way. It's quite cool, but like I always would just prefer him to actually turn up in kind of a surprising way. Like when I see Tony Schiavone on the stage for a pay per view, I kind of know, oh, okay, looks like someone's signing then.
Well,
Whereas,
he was actually waving the contract around, and it had Swerve's name on the
yeah,
contract before he
yeah,
even
yeah,
came out.
yeah, exactly. So I think like I don't know. Obviously, they didn't do the same structure as they did last year for the Face the Revolution ladder match, and that worked. So there was no Joker, but like a spot like that would have been just more fun. Even though I don't know, I think if there was a Joker, I think everyone would have expected it to be Swerve anyway. Um, so not necessarily a massive surprise, but yeah, or maybe debut him on Dynamite, you know, and but it is what it is ultimately. The main thing is that Swerve's in AEW. I'm happy about that. I'm happy for him to be able to fully prove himself because he was just getting somewhere in NXT. Then they moved him up to the main roster and then just released him because
Yep.
that's what they do, which is a shame for him. So I'm happy he's getting this opportunity now.
Yeah, let's see what he's got. Then we had the TBS Championship, Jade versus Tai Conte. Um, Jade looked $1 million in her Mortal Kombat cosplay and was played live by the guitarist who does um, her music. So that just added so much to her. And for me, this was a really good match. And it started out really hot with Jade planting that kiss on Tay, which obviously they'd already done, and then Ty gave her one back later.
Yeah,
The kiss. Some people were saying it's the kiss that stopped the nation. But yeah, look. Overall, I think it was a really good match. I guess the only question now is who's for Jade next. Who's coming for Jade next now? What did you think?
yeah. Yeah, a really good match. Like when you consider the experience level of Jade Cargill, who's had less than a year of being, a professional wrestler in terms of actually going out and performing. Obviously, she's been training for longer than that, but less than a year of actually going out and performing. Like she has no right to be this good. Like I think people forget that because she's proven herself now. Like she's had a few of these matches which are really actually quite good. The one against Anna Jay, especially, she had one with Red Velvet. Obviously, the Shaq match was great as well, her first match. But she's had quite a few now where it's like, yeah, that whole thing of her being green, you can kind of put that in the past. Obviously, she is still inexperienced, but for her experience level, she's like, I don't know, the least green wrestler I've ever seen for
Yeah.
someone who's got less than a year's experience. Um, and I love how she's turned that on its head as well. Now she's starting to like wear green, dye her hair green. I think that's awesome. Um, yeah, her entrance made her feel like a star, and like the match, the way it started and then the way it like kind of continued, they just really went for this. For me, I think it's Jade's second best match. I still prefer the Anna Jay match because I think they had a bit more structure, and I think Anna Jay's performance in that was fantastic. Whereas Ty Conti, I think they were more going for spots in this match rather than um, telling a bit of like a bit more of a narrative within the match. But that's fine. Not every match has to be the same. I really enjoyed it for what it was. It's obviously not match of the night,
No.
but I really did enjoy it. And I think this is a really good decision to have Tay go up against Jade, because there were moments where I was like, I don't know, Jade is taking a lot of damage here. You know, are they gonna do something? And they did. I'd never fully doubted it. Like, I never fully doubted that Jade was gonna lose, but or win, sorry. But they got me as probably as close as you could have, which is, fair play to them for that. But yeah, just really enjoyed this match. I'm just excited for who Jade faces next. At the moment now, like the form she's on, that every match I'm just really excited for, because it's always like an exciting match. She's got a presence about her which is just kind of electric.
Yeah, I had a whole bunch of non-wrestling friends. One of them actually posted a picture of her in a Storm cosplay, and it was basically like, "Oh my god, this woman is so gorgeous. She would make the perfect Storm." And then I said, "Hey, she's actually like an AEW, an actual wrestler." And they're like, "Wait, really? Show me." So I showed them a few of her matches, and they're like, they will now watch Dynamite and that just for Jade. They don't care about anything
Yeah.
else. They just care about Jade, because they're all
Yeah.
like, and that's the sort of person she is. That she will make people, and she said it herself. I'm that person who will make someone if they're flicking through the channels, they see Jade on their TV and they'll stop to watch her. And I've
Yeah.
seen that now in real life, of people just being like, I don't care about anything else, but I care about her. And she's
Yeah.
definitely won me over as well. Just with her, a couple of interviews that she's done and that, she's absolutely golden, and being trained by Brian Danielson, she's only going to get better. Now
Yeah.
let's move on to one of the big ones: MJF versus CM Punk in the dog collar match. Obviously, I'm just going to let you ramble on about the story, because that's what you like to do. So, Gareth?
Yeah. I mean, where do you even start with this story? Because it is just one of the best, uh, one of the best feuds, or kind of medium-term stories that has ever been told, that I've seen in wrestling. For me, it's classic. A lot of it is quite simple stuff, but then a lot of it is also, the swerve that no one saw coming with MJF's promo, for example. A lot of it is just very intelligent storytelling as well. So, like, they kind of did that mix of, just very basic pro wrestling storytelling, heel versus face, and then kind of turned that on its head for a week, screwed around with you, and then went back to it, which was, fantastic. And for something like wrestling, it's not something you ever really see. Um, I think CM Punk at the moment, um, he's been out for a while, and I don't know, my in what I imagine he's been doing, basically, at least maybe since AEW came back, was like, these are all the things I could do, and then he's had time to go, okay, these are like stories I can tell. And now that he's here, he can just go and do them. He obviously had the Eddie Kingston one as well, which I think was an incredible, like, it was like a 2 week program, but again, just for those 2 weeks, it was the best thing, like, around at that time. This has been a lot longer, with obviously it's been like 3 months, maybe four or something like that. But again, the way they've plotted it throughout, like, different things happening, the trios tag match they had, the Wardlow match, then their match together. Also, when CM Punk got MGF counted out in that's another thing which you just didn't see coming. It's not something you really see in wrestling happen. Like, they did so many things. I'm gonna do a video on my channel. This is just a little plug. I'm gonna do a video on my channel breaking down the story from start to finish. So that's coming this week at some point, as soon as I can get it done, basically. And I'm excited to, like, go through that in proper detail there. Getting onto this match, though, it was a very interesting one. It wasn't necessarily quite what I expected for, like, the first portion, because the violence really came a little bit later on, but they built to that, which I think is interesting, because I do think this is one where it could have been maybe like 5 minutes shorter, and they just kind of go straight to the violence, like, because I think the story had justified that. But they had some fun with the dog collar, MJF trying to run away, stuff like that. So yeah, classic stuff. I would have preferred if they'd just gone straight into the violence, personally, because I think that's where the story was at by that point. They had the match before where they kind of built the tension and all that. They showed they could do that. This one, I think it needed to be more like, well, not needed to be because this was still fantastic, but I think something more like what Eddie and Punk did. I think was more what I was hoping for, at least. But still, a fantastic match. And once they got there to that point where Punk was busted open, they were using the chain a lot, and then the thumbtacks came out and all sorts of things like that. Um, I think that was great, and then I loved the ending as well. Because Wardlow had kind of been this side plot for the entirety of this feud. Obviously the match with CM Punk and Wardlow was there, but then Wardlow was kind of slowly getting more and more over, and MJF like bubbling in the background. One of the things stressing him out was, oh no, this Wardlow, he's about to explode. I'm not going to be able to stop him. And so I really like that they kind of tied a bow on that, because it is important to this story as well, because Wardlow was essential to MJF winning that first match, and everything happened between Wardlow and CM Punk. So I like that they tied the bow on that, and then I think Punk already had the match won. Basically, you could say that he hit his finisher into the thumbtack. So if that wasn't going to be the ending, I would have been surprised. But the fact they then went and did the ring as well, I think was just so good. That was like CM Punk just going, nah, I'm taking it further, and that's the ultimate kind of shot at MGF, and I think it's just perfect. He used that ring on MGF. It's just poetic, really.
Yeah, it was a fantastic match, and I think after how fast everything had been, it
Mm.
was good to see it be a bit more slower at the start. I think
Yeah.
it helped. It helped to build, like for me personally, it helped to build to that violence. Even though yes, the story did call for it,
Mm.
you can't forget that both of them are tacticians. So you don't want
Yeah.
to be trying to run into it. So for me personally, I felt that the pacing was really good because we
Yeah.
as a crowd also needed a goddamn break.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, for me, I felt it was a really good match, and what a what a story it has been. I look forward for your video, but yeah, personally, I've been so enthralled by this and seeing the comments of so many people just being like, "This is the best thing I've seen in wrestling in years." Um, is fantastic to see that they're getting this sort of reaction, and MJF showed that if and when he does a face turn, he can do it. But I think it's going to be a long time before we get that from him. So, all right, the probably the more controversial one, women's championship, Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. Um, yeah, it was a match. Look, to be honest, it was okay. The ref destruction spots were way too much and too long. I get that you know Rose is fighting a losing battle here, but at the same time, it's just showing that your refs are so inept that they're instead of someone's directly and constantly getting in the way of a championship match, and like if it was a normal match, sure. This is a championship match. Get no fucking around. You know,
Mm.
exit them from there. I know a lot of people have said that Thunder Rosa is probably going to win in her hometown, and that's in 2 to 3 weeks. I can't remember how long, but you know,
Yeah.
if that's what AEW wants to do, that's what AEW wants to do. For me, I don't like that because I don't like rematches being that quick.
Yeah.
Yes, the I felt that the story building up to this was not good or not great. That they kept to that
Mm.
whole the lights out match, the lights out match, the lights out match. They leaned on
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
so much, and there hasn't been anything very substantial since then. And the reason why she's probably going to get it on that match is that not only is it um, in her hometown, but it's basically like 1 day short of their 1 year anniversary of that lights out match. So
Mm.
some people are suggesting that maybe it might be in a steel cage. I guess
Mm.
we'll have to see, but I'm not I'm not a huge fan Although I think if they were going to do the title change, they should have just done it tonight on the pay per view. Although that said, that new belt looks amazing. I will say that it
Yeah.
looks so beautiful. Um, what do you think of the build in the match?
Yeah, I think most people on my timeline on Twitter were disappointed by the time it got to the pay per view, especially. I said a few weeks ago that the build was lacking because they announced the match without Thunder Rosa really actually doing anything. She was just kind of like reacting to what Baker was doing, which is really bad for your babyface. You need your babyface, or in a traditional story, your hero. You need them to be active and actually, fighting against what's happening, not just kind of reacting to what's happening to them, which is what Thunder Rosa has been doing. And it's sometimes a trap that not just Tony Khan or AEW, but all wrestling companies, they sometimes fall into it. And it's so simple because all you need to do is have your babyface take it to the heel. That's why for me, Hangman is the best babyface in the world at the moment because he's not just there. Oh, I've got the title. Come and have a go. When someone does try and do something to him, you know, he reacts, responds, and then sets it back on them. So it's not like he's necessarily just randomly going after people because that would be kind of illogical. But the moment someone does something to him, like with Lance Archer, Lance kind of blindsided him, attacked him. So I think it was the next week then after Lance had a match, Hangman, Lance took it a bit too far. Hangman then comes out, and then with Adam Cole, Hangman was kind of one up on Adam Cole the entire way until that final week where 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 Cole obviously got the win in the trios match. Um, so that's why Adam Cole is so good, and that's why, or partially why, this Britain Thunder Rosa build hasn't been so good. What I don't really get, the thing that really bothers me, because I agree with you about like the rematch thing. What I don't get is you could have had Britt Baker face someone else tonight, even if it's not the biggest opponent. You can give someone else a pay per view moment, and maybe do Britt versus Rosa. At the start of the year, or you could have even done it at Full Gear. You could have done it at All Out or something. Because Rosa, for Britt's entire reign, has been ready to go and take it. She was number one contender at one point in the summer and just didn't get a title shot. It was so stupid. And then they were like, "Oh crap, she's won too many matches. We have to just stop her from having matches for a while and let someone else take over." It was just like, if you follow the storytelling of this in like the logical world of AEW, it makes no sense. Why is Thunder Rosa not ever doing anything? She never comes out and demands a title match when she's the number one contender. Then when Britt Baker's taking it to her constantly, she reacts in that moment, but then she never tries to one up it or do anything like Hangman does or like any good babyface does. They haven't given Thunder Rosa the chance to be a good babyface, which is the most frustrating thing for me because I know just how good she would be. Um, if they just booked her, because it's all on the booking. It's like nothing to do with her performances. That's what really frustrates me about it. And when I criticized it a few weeks ago, I got loads of people like coming for me on Twitter, like, "Oh, you've not been watching the last year," which is first of all silly because I have been watching the last year and they've been ignoring this story constantly. It's a real issue I've had with it. I liked that Britt Baker kind of then hired someone to go after Rosa to try and stop her from getting to the top. But when that came in, Rosa was in a tournament match for a different title. If she won that title, she would have been out of Britt's way. So that didn't make any sense as well. I think it was just annoying. And then it wasn't like Rosa was like on the precipice of that at that point of being number one contender. So it's the start of the year. The rankings are just about to get squashed. So it's like maybe if Rosa had at least won a few matches and then Britt sends it after her. But again, it's just all convenience booking. So the feud entirely since their last match before this hasn't been done well. It was ignored for too long, and then there were too many logical holes in the story building up to this. They didn't give Thunder Rosa enough agency as a character, and then the match. I think most people were kind of over it by this point. They're like, yeah, they had a great one last year, but that was a lights out match. It was a plunder brawl. It was very exciting. This is just a normal match. So for that reason, I do hope they are going to have a rematch in San Antonio, 100%. That's definitely what's going to happen. and Rosa is going to win because they wouldn't do this if she wasn't. Um, I really hope it is something like a steel cage or a plunder brawl because I think that's where Britt Baker is at her best. Um, and yeah, I think it'll be a very, very exciting match. The cage makes all the sense in the world because of the interference. If this match had been on TV a month, 2 months ago, for example, I think way fewer people would have an issue with that. I don't think any of the things they did in the match, there was obviously a little bit too much interference, but again, it's all more playing into the longer story to get to that, the blow off match. Sometimes you do a match like this to get to that, which I can understand. You know, this is more setting the stage. But it's a pay per view match, so you shouldn't be setting the stage on a pay per view match. That's kind of what kind of screws me with my head a little bit. You could have just had this match a couple of months ago, and then have Baker face someone else, give someone else a pay per view moment, and then in San Antonio, you then give Thunder Rosa the win. It just, the entire booking around this has just really annoyed me, basically.
Yeah,
But I don't think the match was as bad as some people said.
yeah. Look, it definitely wasn't a bad match, but
I don't think it was a great match,
it wasn't a
but it
great
wasn't
match.
terrible.
I think the reason why people might be like, "Oh, it was a really bad match," was because when we look at the overall quality of all the other matches we got tonight,
Yeah.
it's a very, it definitely does not stand up, and that might be why,
It's by far the worst match,
yeah,
like by far on the
but
night.
it definitely isn't a bad match. But yeah, it
Yeah.
just doesn't. It's not. I personally just think it's not a pay per view match. That's, I think, the biggest thing, and
Yeah.
you hit that on the nail head. If this was on Dynamite or on Rampage, sure, that would be fine. But this is pay per view.
Yeah.
I think we as fans expect more because we're being given more and better
Yeah.
matches, and I think it just didn't get that. All right, let's move on to Bryan versus Moxley and Big Daddy Regal coming home.
Okay.
Well, he won't be able to say that, but blood and guts is
Blood and guts.
blood and guts. All right. So, what did you think of Moxley versus Bryan Danielson?
Oh man, this was just beautiful, beautiful violence. I loved. It was mostly strike based. There was some submissions and stuff worked in there as well, but like the main things I remember from this are just like some of those brutal strikes, particularly those kicks from Bryan into Mox. Like I felt like Mox before the match was like just kick me because he wasn't holding back. Like he was like just kick me as hard as you can. Like if you break my rib, you break my rib. Because he was like booting him, and we know how hard Bryan can kick. So yeah, definitely didn't hold back on that. Some of the strikes, the double like knockout spot, what they did was really really cool. Because that's just such a great spot, which I think should be done more often. I loved that. Just I don't know. Beyond that, there are probably some other spots, but my brain's going a little bit forgetting them, I guess. But this match for me was just like I couldn't take my eyes off it. I was just staring, but I don't really like. I was just so in the moment that I can't really like reflect on it too much. They obviously there wasn't like a huge amount of storytelling in this match or whatever. Like it was kind of just a back and forth, fairly even match, which ultimately ended in a roll up. But that is kind of like they're definitely going to have another match at some point. let's just put it like that. And they were very much telling the story that these two are on the same level, arguably the two best in the world at what they do. They love doing violence in a very different way, but they both kind of love violence. They kind of clash in that way. It was just beautiful to watch, to be honest. This is exactly when I thought of Bryan Danielson in AEW. This is kind of the match I had envisaged more than any, because it's the ones that he wasn't really allowed to do in WWE. Yeah, I just loved it. Like I can't really say much more than that. And then William Regal at the end, it's just so good to see. Even though it's kind of like, why the hell is he out here and doing this? I know he has a relationship with both guys, so from that point of view, it makes sense. He's had classics with them early in their career. He was a mentor for both of them, so it completely makes sense that he would come out and be like, "Oh, you two, stop, stop going at it." But it was kind of weird in the moment, but I didn't care because it was like William Regal's in AEW, and he's actually signed as well. It wasn't just a one-off appearance. He's going to be doing something. I don't know what exactly, but that's good to hear. Maybe he actually goes to Ring of Honor because I think him being a backstage voice, I think is good because as far as I can tell, when he had more influence in NXT, or basically before Shawn Michaels came in and Triple H was listening, like Regal was a. I don't know if his voice diminished, but there was another voice in the room that Triple H respected a lot, basically. So when another one came in the room, NXT started going downhill. When it was at its best, it was, Regal, Triple H, and also living off what Dusty had helped them do in terms of his work with people and their characters. So I think he'd be great backstage. A great person for Tony Khan to kind of bounce ideas off, because William Regal is certainly one of the most underrated. I don't think he's underrated. I think everyone appreciates him, but yeah, I don't think he gets quite the respect he deserves for that for the NXT stuff and when it was in its prime. Um, so yeah, that's really good to see as well. And it was just like, I don't know, this for me, I was just smiling the entire time. I was just so happy. What about yourself, mate?
I loved watching him slap the shit out of Brian and Moxley. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, this is great. I love this so much. So when we talk about things that we want to see come out of this, that's definitely going to be one of the things. But the match was just everything I thought it was going to be. I did think that Brian was going to win it, but I was very surprised that he didn't. So um, we'll see. I hope that we're still going to get this dojo, but I'll talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, everything you said just hits the nail. This was a glorious violence and ended with even more glorious violence by Regal. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to see where this goes now.
yeah,
So now we've got two matches left. Our tornado trios match with had Matt Hardy, Isaiah Cassidy, and Andrade versus Sting, Sammy, and Darby. And first of all, let me just say, Sting, holy shit, he did that bomb. I still can't believe it. He actually did the media scrum after the event, and someone asked him, "Did you think that you're going to be doing stuff like this?" And he's just said, "No. To be honest, when I came in, I didn't know what I was going to be doing. I thought it was going to be cinematic matches, but then I was told that, hey, I reckon you could still go." And that's where it apparently started. So he just keeps showing us that, yeah, he can still go. Um,
yeah,
it's a delight to see him doing these matches, and just I think he's been hanging around Darby too long because he's now doing Darby spots. Uh, and
yeah,
Hardy Matt Hardy being pinned is just going to add into the worst kept secret in AEW, which is Jeff Hardy returning. So
yeah,
after tonight, however, the AHFO needs to do something. They've they've all lost a lot, very big losses. They're basically if AEW want to continue this faction, and the way I think it's going to happen is Matt's going to get voted out of the faction, and Andrade is just going to take over fully. We might see people like Blade Butcher and Bunny leave, and it might just be Andrade with Isaiah Cassidy, and that could be something. But they need to start doing wins. They need to start building themselves back up, because at the moment, if they're in a match with anyone of a name, you know that they're losing, and it's kind of, especially for Private Party, they need to get back into that tag picture, because they are a very talented tag picture, and Andrade needs some gold. I feel
yeah,
that his run particularly has been very, very below what I think a lot of people were hoping for. So we've got quite a lot of the year left. So a complete restructure of whatever they're doing with that is definitely needed, because at the moment it's it's now pretty much dead. Um,
Yeah.
unless they start getting some solid wins. So, but very fun match. Very much entertained. This was meant to be the cool down match before the main event, but I don't think anyone told any of the talent that. So, what did you think of it all and of the match?
Yeah, there were some crazy spots. Sting doing ECW type spots at the age of 62 was crazy. Uh, the Sammy Spanish fly out on Isaiah Cassidy, that was actually like worrying because like Isaiah looked like legit hurt, but I did see him at the end like getting up. So I don't know if he was just like laying there basically selling that because I mean that's not a move you should be getting up from, until after the match. So yeah, hopefully he was just selling, and there wasn't any serious injury. There's no way that's not gonna hurt, but like, yeah, hopefully it's it was all seems like it was all okay, but I don't know. Like it seems like something where like easily could have like got a concussion or something. Like it was just such a crazy spot, which I think was a little bit unnecessary. Like considering how much we had in that match and like throughout the night. Like it was probably a risk too far for my taste. I just felt like I didn't really feel anything for it, and I don't know. And that wasn't Sammy's or Isaiah Cassidy's fault. I think we just had so much by that point. Like I didn't need to see someone get Spanish fly off the stage through a table. At that point in the night. So that was probably one too far. The Sting one I really enjoyed because, like, I don't know, it's Sting. He can just do anything. You can't really criticize Sting. Again, it's not a criticism of Sammy and Isaiah Cassidy. I think it was just, yeah, for me personally, that was just one too far. On the AHFO, yeah, I don't know, like, I kind of think Private Party with Andrade would be really good as long as they get booked to be, a little bit better than they've been booked. Because I love the idea of them kind of hanging out with Andrade. Because like Party, they wear a lot of jewelry and stuff. They've kind of got the gimmick. They like partying. They like that lifestyle. They like the money and all that. And that's what Andrade is. So to me, I kind of just see them fitting together, kind of just being, dickheads.
Yeah,
Like in a little trios team, and then obviously Andrade doing singles as well. I'd like that. Butcher and the Blade go their own way, and obviously the Hardy Boys then team up, and they can face both Private Party and the Butcher and the Blade. Do that, and
yeah,
then a tag title match. I think down the line, whether they actually win the tag titles, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But this is a very fun match. It was just I don't know. I didn't quite need as many spots as I got in this by this point. Um, and yeah, it was just kind of fun,
yeah.
but that was it.
Yeah, I think for Private Party, they've got a lot of rebuilding to do for
Yeah,
them to get back to that spot. But both of them are young enough to have that time. So, use the next couple months to re-establish them, rebuild them, get them doing something of note, and we'll
they did
see.
have a tag title match like a month
Yeah,
or so ago,
they certainly did.
so at least that was something. It wasn't well built to or anything, but
No, it was just
it
it
was
was
like
just yeah, it
yeah,
was
it was
just
nice to see them
defense.
in a big match.
Yeah, it was. All right, main event time: Adam versus Adam. The crowd was amazing for this. I don't know if you heard, but the crowd was going, "Let's go, Adam!" or "Adam's gonna kill you!" or "We love Adam!"
Yeah,
I thought that was so good. Um, so obviously, Adam Page or Hangman ended up with the win. He did say during the media scrum that he apologizes to people for having to go to a darker place to retain. Um, I don't know if you noticed, but people were booing him during that pay per view
oh
when he locked up Adam Cole and was kicking him, giving him a bit of payback. There was definitely some boos that I heard in to him for that. So, but still another great match by by Hangman. Another great defense, and the show ended with no big new surprise, no big nothing. Just a cowboy with his title, showing it to the world. What did you think of the match?
yeah, I didn't notice the booing, but again, this is one where I was just kind of sitting there with a smile on my face
Hmm.
the entire time. I love Adam Page too much. Um, And like I said earlier, I think he's just the best babyface in the world. I think him as a wrestler is really underrated because I think he's legit one of the best in the world. Not just with his character and stuff, but like in the ring, I think his wrestling is fantastic. Obviously, he's had some very good opponents with Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson. So it's like people say, well, of course he's had a good match, but I think his work in those matches was really underrated by a lot of people. And I think with Lance, he brought like probably Lance's best match in AEW out of him, for me anyway. With Adam Cole as well, this is definitely his best match in AEW. Although besides that Jungle Boy match, has he had a singles match where you really thought, yeah, this is going to be a banger? Probably not. And that Jungle Boy match delivered as well. And this is his first long singles match, so I don't know. Maybe it's the first opportunity Adam Cole has had to have that kind of match in AEW. But still, I think, and I do think Adam Page kind of gave him that great match because I know some people don't agree with this. I know a lot of people do agree with it. But Adam Cole's kind of big match, the way he lays out big matches in NXT, it got old quite quickly for me and a lot of other people. And I do love Adam Cole. Like, as a guy, I think he's just a really, really nice bloke outside of the ring. And I'd love to see him be a babyface because, you know, he's a great heel and all, but he's just such a nice guy and I want to like him. But either way, I do think he's got a few, for my taste anyway, he's got a few bad habits. He kind of goes to near falls a little bit too much for my liking. It relies on them, the shocked faces, just all the NXT kind of stuff. The melodrama, which I kind of only really accept from the Young Bucks, really, because like I don't know, I think they find a way of doing it, which I appreciate. With Adam Cole, there was a point where he was like, he said something like he just went, damn it. Like he looked really, really frustrated. And I was like, see, that's where you've got it right. That's really good because you're showing genuine frustration without kind of overacting. And then he started like looking at the turnbuckle and he started talking to the turnbuckle. I was like, mate, this is crap. Stop. Stop cutting promos on the turnbuckle midway through a match. It was obviously, and also the Paradise, no, what was it called? The
Panama Sunrise.
the one, that's it, yeah, the Panama Sunrise. I, the way he builds matches around that move, I really, really don't like. Um, the move is okay, but it only really works when it's coming out of nowhere. Like a Canadian destroyer kind of thing, it only really works when it's coming out of nowhere. If it's got all this great setup and you're building to it constantly, I don't think it really works. It kind of takes the specialness of that kind of move away for me. So then when he was cutting a promo of building to that, I was just like, mate, stop. Just stop. But luckily, Hangman was in this match, so he saved Adam Cole from himself and still brought him to a very good match. But I know that's something which frustrates me and a few other people. It's not going to annoy everyone, but it irritates me. Um, but yeah, I thought Adam Page he brought a lot out of Adam Cole, which I hadn't seen for quite a while, including his NXT run. Um, it's some stuff I hadn't really seen from Adam Cole in quite a while. For the most part, you know, little promo aside, it was very, very good. I really enjoyed Hangman's offense in this match as well. Like he just doesn't hold back. He makes it look so good. That's the one thing I really, really like about him. Like he's a hard-hitting babyface, and he just really goes for it. And it's just so satisfying every time he uh, lays in a chop or a punch or like very simple moves. I get really happy from basically watching him. So, but for the most part, I just had a smile on my face this entire match. And when it kind of ended, that I kind of realized, oh, I'm just smiling. Like I just kind of took a moment to be like, oh, I'm just happy. So that was basically what I was left with after this match, and I think that's exactly what you want from your babyface champion.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
Yep, pretty much the same. I thought it was a really good match, and um, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. I know a lot of people were thinking that Hangman was going to be a very quick champion.
Mm.
I know a lot of people had bets on that he'd be losing the title by this pay per view, so they're we're losing some money now.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for him to stick around a little bit longer. I don't know who's going to take it from him. I definitely see Punk coming after the belt very soon,
Yeah.
especially after tonight. I think MJF is still a little while off, especially because
He's got to fight Wardlow.
he's going to have a Wardlow situation.
Yeah.
Um,
And that'll be Double or Nothing, won't it? Like,
yeah, I
they're
dare
gonna
say
do
so.
a good build to that, and
Yeah,
it'll probably be for the TNT title. I think
yeah,
Wardlow should win that, but then it's like, if you have MJF take 2 losses in pay-per-views in a row, can he then go and challenge it all out? Like, theoretically he could, but yeah, like that would be very interesting. I don't know, maybe CM Punk just wins the title at Double or Nothing, but
mm.
I don't know. I don't think that'll happen, but yeah.
We'll see what happens. Okay, so what was your match of the night?
Man, this is hard. This is so hard because
You may
I've
change your
got
mind later on. I'm putting you on the spot. What's your match of the night? On the spot.
um oh, last night after the show, the thing that kind of stuck with me was Eddie versus Jericho. That was the thing that kind of resonated with me the most. Um, I think part of it was just how hot the crowd was as well,
Yeah.
though. I could easily go CM Punk versus MJF or Bryan versus Moxley in another moment. But yeah, those three for sure. But I'm gonna go Eddie versus Jericho. I think Eddie is an amazing wrestler,
Yeah.
and he deserves his flowers. So I'll give it to him
Locked in. You can never
and
change your mind
Jericho.
again. I lied. For me as well, it would be a tie between Eddie versus Jericho and the Face of the Revolution match.
Okay.
I really like that tag match. The spots were so well done, and Orange Cassidy climbing up on the ladder and using
Yeah.
the bigger guys as a ladder as well. There's so many like really good spots in there. Obviously, Mox and MJF and all that, I really like those as well. But for me, they just had
Yeah.
had I think standouts. But for me, I've got to give it to Eddie because Eddie won the big one, and I was more happy about that than anything else tonight. So as soon as that was done,
Yeah.
I was basically like, "Yep, pay per view's over now. I can go home." Right? Oh wait, I'm already at home. So that's
Yeah.
bad. All right. So normally we would have some stats, but unfortunately we don't have them. So I'm going to give you some stats, and you can guess which one is has the most. So we're not going to include the Face of the Revolution match. So out of all the matches
Okay.
tonight, who do you think had which match do you think had the most strikes?
Yeah, that's gotta be Bryan versus Mox. I don't know if they actually had the most because, or if they were just hard hitting, but that is yeah, that definitely had the most big strikes, like strike downs, for example.
Yep.
So I don't know, maybe something else had more strikes, but I just feel like there were so many strikes in that match. I've got to go with that.
Yep. I'd be pretty comfortable going with that as well. Which
Yeah.
match do you think had the most submission time?
Um. Ooh. I know there was quite a bit in Eddie versus Jericho because obviously Eddie had his submission in for a while, and Jericho had his in for a
Mm.
while, and there might have been a couple of other small ones. I know Bryan and Mox had a little bit. Um, MJF and Punk, because like they did a lot of chain stuff. Is that going to count as submissions? It's quite hard. I'll go with Eddie Jericho because I think at least when we talk about the major submissions, Jericho had that Walls of Jericho in for
Yeah.
quite a while, and then Eddie had his in as well.
Yep.
But I might be wrong on that one. I could see myself being wrong.
Okay. Which match had the most big takedowns?
I'll go Bryan versus Mox.
Alright.
Although, did they actually fall over that much? There were big strikes, but
Mm.
a lot of the time they weren't. I don't know. I'll go. That was very hard hitting. I'm probably going to be really wrong now.
Yeah.
I feel like Adam Cole versus Adam Page had a lot of strike downs as well.
I'd,
Like I
I'll,
remember, like
Me personally, I'd actually go Adam Page versus Adam Cole. I think that
yeah,
had more
maybe
strikeouts.
yeah.
What do you think had the most fouls?
Well, is because it's a dog collar match. Is it going to count as a foul or not? That's what I don't know. If not, because I think that would be number one. If not, I think that Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa one because we include like interference and stuff in that, don't we?
I,
So
I dare say the dog collar one because the dog collar is all legal, so it's not a foul.
yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
I'd definitely say the Brit versus Thunder one. Which match
Yeah.
do you think had the most offense? Sorry, who do you think had the most offense tonight?
Oh, okay, that's different. Most offense. That was going to be 2D. I feel like MGF was beaten up for a lot of that match. Um, a lot of these were quite 50-50, or like the Spot Fest ones. It's like there's so many people in there. Like, yeah, I think maybe CM Punk.
Yeah,
Again, I might be wrong on that one, but I think maybe CM
I
Punk, because
think
that match went quite long, and I think he beat the shit out of MGF.
I think CM Punk's a really good guess for that one. Um, who do you think had the most weapons used against them?
Uh, MGF,
MJ.
surely.
Yep.
Although the ladder match as well, like there were loads of ladder spots. Like I remember when Orange Cassidy was just waving them around, but he was hitting on various people. I think MJF was probably hit with a weapon
I
more than
think
anyone.
I definitely say it would be MJF. Got hit a lot. And final one. Which match do you think went the longest?
Um, the
Actually,
ladder
no. Sorry,
match
we'll
was
remove that. Which match do you
okay.
think had the most equal? Would have the most equal. So percentage of offense.
Uh, Match offense, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
most
I
equal.
think Brian and Mox felt very back and forth, very equal. So did Eddie and Jericho. So although yeah, there was a lot of moments where Jericho was like really on top. So I'll go Brian and Mox, I think. That felt very 50-50. If it was more than like if one of them had more than 55%, I would be surprised.
I'm gonna do a curveball. Brit versus
Okay.
Thunder.
Yeah, that was very even.
It was very even. So I think that one's probably gonna be the closest. But if I had to guess the second, it would have been Brian versus Mox. So
Yeah.
all right. So you've given us a match of the night. We've had some guesses at some stats, which both of us are going to be looking at the Pro Wrestling Musings Twitter and website to see how
Yeah,
wrong you
very
were.
interested to see them now. So see if I was right.
um, so last thing that I just want to ask you: what are three things that you want to see come out of the pay per view? So I don't want long winded stories. Just what are three things that you'd like to see happen?
Um, Definitely Thunder Rosa winning the championship because that's the only way to justify that match.
Yep.
And even then, still shouldn't have been on the pay per view. So that's definitely one. I really want. I know he lost on the pay per view, but I really want to see Jericho versus Hangman. I think maybe after that'd be something like after Double or Nothing when Jericho's maybe built up some wins. If he did that on TV, because that's like a loss that Hangman still has to avenge. And I think Jericho, now he's gone heel, I think he's going to tap into some really good stuff again. So, and I'd love to see him just rubbing, like, because that loss is what kicked off Hangman's like spiral. So him rubbing that in Hangman's face and Hangman overcoming it, that would be fantastic. What else do we have? Wardlow's going to win the title, surely. So, uh, third one. I want to see. Right, this is something that's a bit out there. I want to see Brian Danielson versus John Moxley with their mates, the Danielson Dojo and Moxley with his mates. Eddie Kingston, Santana Ortiz because they're mates with Eddie, and maybe Darby Allin because he's got a history with Mox of being friendly. Them versus the Danielson Dojo in War Games with William Regal kind of announcing it, and I don't know, a special guest referee. That would be awesome. That would be so cool. Just involve William Regal and do a War Games match or a Blood and Guts match. That would be excellent stuff. I would love to see that. Also, Kenny Omega, come back as soon as you're healthy. Please be healthy soon. That's
Ex-
four.
yeah, that was four. All right. So for me, my first one that I need to see now is I need to see this Moxley and Danielson stable. I want to see them work together, and I want to see
For a
them.
while.
Yeah, for a while. I know for a while, but I want to see
Yeah.
them work together. I want Regal to be managing the dojo. So Regal's the manager. Them two are there. Then you've got Garcia, Yuta, and Moriarty as your three youngins coming in. If you want to pick out someone else, you go for it. It doesn't bother me.
Hook. No, it's not gonna be Hook, but
Needs to
imagine.
be Hook needs to be doing his own thing.
Yeah.
You probably I don't know who they'll bring in. Who there is at the moment, but yeah, if they wanted to bring in someone else, they certainly could. But I definitely want to see that happen. I want to see them have a run, and I wouldn't even. I would love like who's the fourth? I guess Starks. Starks. Some people consider Starks as the as a bit of a pillar, like a next pillar. So I
Yeah.
would like to
Next
see.
generation.
I would like to see the young dojo versus someone in a blood and guts. I want to see them as a team do it.
Yeah.
So I would like, keep it to five. That way we can do it. So keep it to five people. Have them all go in against someone, whoever it is, Sammy, Darby, whoever you want to put in there, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and someone else. Do future pillars versus current pillars blood and guts match.
Yeah.
Christian. Yeah, put in Christian as well. Christian Cage as their veteran. You know,
Yeah.
that's if he hasn't turned on Jungle Boy by then, which is something that I think that might be coming. So, yeah, I think that's my
Maybe longer term.
yeah, that one's
Maybe.
probably going to be a longer term one. But that's my really big thing. I want to see. I want to see this Dojo, Dragon Dojo faction, and I want to see it do well. Next thing I want to see, obviously, a good, a really good women's championship match between Britt and Thunder. We know that they can have good matches, and we really need one. We really need it to make up for what happened at the pay per view. And as I alluded to, I would like to see something happen with Andrade. He's everything that's happened with him at the moment has been a bit of a letdown up until now. They made him look really good over the last two nights. Tonight and during that triple threat, he got made to look really good. But now we need him to start doing something of substance, because at the moment he's stuck in the lower mid card, and someone like Andrade should not be in the lower mid card. So let's see what they can do, but definitely a rebuild of him and whatever ends up the carcass of the Hardy family office. Is that it? So yeah, that's my big three. So
Nice.
anything that you want to plug while you're here? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Gareth_EW, and then on YouTube at Eno Wrestling. That's ENO Wrestling. Just type it in, it'll come up. I make AEW videos, and also, of course, Pro Wrestling Musings. Gonna be writing more stuff for Pro Wrestling Musings now. Yeah, because I've got a lot of ideas and I can't make them all into videos, basically. I don't have the time for that. So, and I still want to put them out. So, yeah, it just makes sense, doesn't it?
And for anyone who wants to watch it, your most recent video was the fantasy booking on AEW and in New Japan Pro Wrestling Super Show video.
Yeah, although now with the whole Ring of Honor thing, I don't know, maybe it would be a AEW and Ring of Honor Super Show or something.
Well,
but we'll see. Yeah.
Good news is that during the media scrum, Tony Khan did confirm that there was going to be more new Japan Pro Wrestling stuff coming. He didn't give dates, but he did say it was coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go from that. Obviously, please follow Pro Wrestling Musings on Twitter. visit our website at prowrestlingmusings.com as well. Also, we have a Facebook page that you can also join and like. We share interesting stats and all the glorious of the most nerdiest aspect of wrestling that you can imagine. But we do it in such a great way that it's always really good to look at. Obviously, give us a like, a subscribe on the YouTubes. And we will be back every week to do some good old AEW reviews. We're also going to be doing some deep dives into some of the stats that we've got and just some more interesting stuff. So we are back, better than ever, looking pretty, and we're going to be doing more stats than ever before. So luckily Craig has cleared his schedule because we've got a line of work for him to do. So thank you all for listening, and thank you all for joining us. Till next time, I've been Anthony Down Under, and you've been listening to Pro Wrestling Musings. Thank you.